Welcome to week 7 of Org 612, Nonprofit Executive Leadership and Board Development. This week's focus is really two things. The first thing is discussing the board CEO relationships, and the second thing is going to be board policy manuals. Now, here's the thing I want you to keep in mind, first and foremost, is that as an organization rises and falls, it does so because the relationship oftentimes the CEO has with the board. I'm a big believer in as the organization goes, or I should say is how the board goes is how the organization goes. And I guess you could flip that around also and say, show me a great organization, I'll show you a great board. Or show me a mediocre or not so great organization, and I'll show you a great a not so great and mediocre board of directors. Oftentimes, as I've looked at different nonprofits, I've consulted with different nonprofits, oftentimes I've found that miscommunication or poor relationships between the CEO and the chair of the board or the board at large creates a lot of problems. And if the board CEO if the board chairman and the executive director or the CEO are not in good agreement or on good terms, the whole organization is going to suffer. You can create an environment where the organization keeps its heads down and defaults to the board, and then the board becomes a working board because it's bypassing the executive leadership. And also, you'll have, especially in founding organizations, you'll have a startup director that will assume the role of chairman as well because he or she's trying to build the organization. And then that person can take ownership of the board and doesn't relinquish the board. And then just look it up. Google nonprofit founder syndrome, and you'll find lots of information on how the CEO cannot let go. And then that hampers the board of directors in doing a really good job and leading the organization to where it needs to go, through the governance phase and institutional phases. So that is a significant point of discussion. You're going to find that in your forums. If you have to sanitize, go ahead and sanitize your responses. We're really trying to have you dive into this issue at length. I know some of you have had some very difficult circumstances with boards, and you'll be able to really come out of this from a first-person type of perspective instead of hearsay. The second thing you're going to be working on is a board policy manual. Now, here I don't want you recreating the wheel. To complete a successful assignment, you're going to do one of two things. Either you're going to download and your current existing board policy manuals, and then you'll augment that with suggestions. Or you're going to have to create something from nothing, and we don't want you to do that. So go out to either the optional resources you'll see in this week, or go out to the introductory lesson and look at the resources that are there, and you can find some boilerplate type of examples. I'm not going to be looking for plagiarism this week because there's just too much opportunity for that. It's not really plagiarism. I mean, if you don't have a board manual, you've got to create it from something. And I do the same thing that you're going to do. When I have to do these things, I go out and I see what other people have written, and then I adapt that as I need to my organization. So we're really encouraging you to do that. What tells us you're learning, and it gives you, is that you're able to look at a board policy manual and you're able to contextualize it for your particular situation. So that's it. That's the two prongs you've got going on this week: CEO board relationships, and then working on your board policy manual. If you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out to Jody or I, and we will be glad to help you out. So have an excellent week.